So welcome to Alumni Takeover Week. My name is Connor Quealy. I am from the class of 2019, and I'm also the Associate Director of Affinity Group Engagement here at the University in the Office of Advancement. Throughout this week, we've invited several alumni to join us for conversations about their careers, to give you insight into the different career paths and industries, and get advice on how to enter and thrive in these fields. We're excited to have our guest, Aaron Lemma, class of 2020, with us today. Aaron is the Director of U.S. Operations at Water is Life Kenya. In his role, Aaron leads fundraising, finance, partnerships, and communications to support the organization mission of empowering Kenyans through clean water, sustainable livelihoods, and conservation initiative. Aaron is a 2020 graduate from SJU with a bachelor's in interdisciplinary health services and is also a proud ACE SJU alum from the 21, where he received his master's in business organizational leadership. With a background in nonprofit operations, Aaron has driven strategic growth and donor development at Water is Life Kenya. His passion for community empowerment and development is truly inspiring. Please join me in welcoming Aaron, who's also a close friend of mine. So welcome, Aaron. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Mr. Quealy, as I have taken to calling you over the years.
I guess that's from our time in ACE,
Yes,
the teachers in us. So
that's right.
yeah. So Aaron, we're gonna start, have a few questions for you, and feel free to share what you think's important and all that. So Aaron, could you describe what your current role is, your core responsibilities, and what a typical day or week looks like for you?
Sure. Uh, I need to plug in my computer, right? So that's let's start with that. There's a lot of moving around, and sometimes we use all of the energy we have. That's kind of what it's like working at a nonprofit. So in real time, I'm plugging in my computer, and that's kind of how I feel at the end of this week. Actually, so Saturday is World Water Day. Okay, for those of you who don't know, the United Nations kind of puts out this list of different days throughout the year. So earlier this month was International Women's Day. Saturday is World Water Day, and so we've been doing a lot of different things to communicate and to be in touch with our donor community. So that's like one of the primary things that I do at Water is Life Kenya, is around fundraising and being in touch with our donors, right? So somebody gives a donation to us, and then it's the expectation that we're going to take that donation and make real impact, a real change happen in Kenya. And so we need to do a lot of work in order to make sure that happens. Okay. So first, sometimes we have to ask for money. So like right now in our office, we're sending out a mailing. We have 3 volunteers in stuffing envelopes, and we signed letters last week. We do everything in house. And then when somebody makes a donation, we follow it up with a letter. And then, the work is, we send out email newsletters to let people see what's happening, see their donations in action. We just today got some photos and videos from a well that we drilled in Kenya. So this is, let's see if the blur works. I'm going to unblur my background for the dramatic effect. Okay. So this is Kimana Girls School, and that is fresh water flowing today. So we have drilled a well and we're doing test pumping. This is an all-girls school with about 1,000 girls, and we had a partner reach out wanting to drill a well, and so we drilled it. So as you can see, there's a little bit of everything. What does a typical week look like? It's getting news from Kenya, it's communicating with donors, it's working with volunteers, it's reaching out to partners. As soon as this call ends, we're actually going over to the Amazon Fulfillment Center and giving a presentation to the women's group and Black Employee Network at Amazon. This is a packed week with World Water Day coming up. It usually is that way around this time of year. But yeah, so a little bit of everything.
And I guess from my knowledge, are you doing anything with St. Joe's for World Water Day?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. Yeah, so for the past 2 years, we've been working with the Beautiful Social Research Collaborative, which is a communications kind of capstone engagement class. And these communication students work with nonprofits to help them with different things. And last year, we had the idea of doing a solidarity walk on campus, a water walk. And so we're doing it again this year. We did it last year, it was a great success. And so we're doing it this year on April 4th. So we call it Magis for Magi. Magis, of course, is the Ignatian call for more, for doing more for others. And then Magi is the Swahili word for water. So the Magis for Magi water walk, we're doing it on campus, April 4th, 12 o'clock in the Perch. You can see us there and walk around campus with us.
Hmm. Wonderful. That's awesome. Now, Aaron, how did you get into this career? Like, what made you pursue it? What was your motivation for this kind of work?
Yeah. So, as you mentioned earlier, I was in the I did the ACE SJU teaching fellowship. Um, the honest truth, Connor, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life when I graduated. Uh-huh. I'm sure there's some people listening to this call who feel that way, telling you that yes, like yes, maybe you can figure it out. Okay, so here's what I did. I was a class of 2020. The pandemic happened. I was going into healthcare. And then the pandemic happened, and I said, I don't know if I want to go into healthcare. I was just being honest with myself. Um, and so I just looked at the different kind of post grad offerings that St. Joe's had to offer, and then I learned about the Alliance for Catholic Education. So that's a post grad program that St. Joe's runs. You basically work in a Catholic school in Philadelphia or Camden for 2 years, get a master's degree, get room and board covered, and get a little stipend to make sure you can, stay alive. Um, I said, you know what? If I want to go into healthcare, it's going to be there. But for now, I'm just going to try this different avenue. So I taught science and math at Newman Goretti High School in South Philly. It was an incredible experience. I really, really liked being in the classroom. Um, but because it was the pandemic, we couldn't really do like traditional biology labs. So I just ended up showing a bunch of David Attenborough videos, and and it was, I think my students liked it when they were staying awake. Um, and I just in that process, I just fell in love with the environment all over again. I fell in love with the planet, and I said, you know what? I don't know what I want to do, but I think I want to. I think I want to work in the environment in some way. I want to work. I want to be involved in some kind of environmental initiative. Um, so I just started praying about it. I started telling people about it. And then, Father Joyce at St. Joe's, he's like the overseer of the ACE-SJU program. He just sent me a couple job applications that came across his desk. And one of them was this one. Um, I applied. I'm like, it's working with, empowering women in Kenya. They live outside. I'm like, that'll fit the environmental part, right? People like living, living really like in connection with the environment around them. Um, so I was like, let me just see if it works. Um, and that's how I ended up here. So I applied, I got it, and we've been rocking and rolling ever since. Ever since. Um, yeah, it's the power of the St. Joe's network, working with professors, advisors, seeing who they know, and just like being honest with them and telling them where you're at and what you might want to do with your life. Don't keep it. I would say I'm glad I didn't keep my idea to myself, because if I did, I wouldn't have ended up here.
No, that's a great example. So many like students, you should utilizing the alumni networks is so important, especially for your career success and your networking going forward. I really appreciate you sharing that and giving that insight. What has been surprising or, what has been the most surprising thing about your career? Have you gone on any trips or done anything that, really spoke to you since you started working there?
Sure. So let me start with the most surprising. Um, so what was most surprising is like fundraising is building relationships with people. right? I very rarely have to, people think fundraising, oh my gosh, you're gonna have to go ask people for money. It's like I very rarely do that. I go out, me and my team, we strategically set up places to talk, to sell our products. We have a whole collection of beaded handicrafts from Kenya. So we're very strategic about where do we go? Who do we talk to? Which groups do we work with? And and I didn't know that was part of the job, but I'm like, okay. So I started going out. We talked at some Rotary clubs. That's a civic organization that does a lot of service work locally and also internationally. Um, we also talked to some churches, started working with some churches, presented at churches, talking at the end of the service. Um, different community organizations too, and then also just like tabling at like a craft fair, right? In that process, what I learned is that like, oh, I'm all this is talking to people and communicating, right? All I'm doing all the time is just telling the story, meeting people, right? And somebody comes to the table at a community day, and I don't know who they are. I don't know where they're coming from. And so you have to like immediately figure out, okay, well, have you been to Kenya before? Like, why did they approach the table and stop? I'm like, oh, have you been to Kenya before? Like, oh, um have you heard about us? Like maybe we're really far away. I don't ask that question, but if we're in our like Delaware area, I'm like, have you heard about us before? Um and then, it's like, oh, where have you heard about us? So you just try to like meet people where they are, and then you start to like build a connection from that point.
Hmm.
Um I've met so many people throughout doing this work. I've met hundreds of people throughout Delaware and Pennsylvania and Maryland, just by like being out there in the community. And that's like really one of my favorite parts of this, because when you meet people, some people are really interested and some people don't care, which is fine, right? I'm not going to invest my time and my energy into the people who don't care, but those people who are really interested, it's like, okay, are they just are they just a shopper? Are they just going to buy something? Could they maybe be a donor? Maybe they're going to actually like contribute, and maybe they'll contribute multiple times, or um, are they involved in an organization? Like how much are they interested in water access in Kenya and empowering women? How much do they care about this stuff? Um, could they invite us to speak at their church, which is a huge potential bonus for what we do when that happens. So I just love that process of like building relationships with people. That has been really surprising to me. And for a while there, I was thinking that I was an introvert because I like uh I don't know, like I took some personality tests and it's like, oh yeah, I'm an introvert. Like I get my energy from like being alone. But um this job has been like, you're not actually an introvert, right? So I can talk to anybody and everybody. I love that. It's a great skill. I've had a lot of opportunities to do that. And you also mentioned trips. Okay. So yes, a huge perk of this job is that I actually got to go to Kenya. And I think I'm going again later this year. So just to kind of give you a little sense of it, our organization is really small. We have two full-time staff, including me in the US, and then we have about four full-time staff in Kenya. We also have part-time staff in both places. My boss, she's from Delaware. She spends about 6 months in Kenya and 6 months in the US every year. Um, and and we have a Kenyan team who's from the community, always there. So I got to go to Kenya in February of 2023. I was there for 3 weeks, and yeah, it's hard to imagine, right? So you fly into Nairobi, which is a big city, and then you go 4 hours south, and I mean, we're talking like very rural, very remote areas. Um, People, they keep livestock, so people are walking around herding their livestock. Um, there are schools, but like, kids will have to walk to school. Not very many people have cars, uh, let alone motorcycles. So it's just a totally different life. And yeah, so I was there when we drilled a well. I was there for the groundbreaking ceremony. It was the coolest experience of my life. Just like seeing people like filled with so much hope, um, wanting to like just like willing there to be water when this drill like finally starts to break ground. And eventually it did. really exciting. We did a bunch of other stuff. I got to go on safari. I met with some of the widows that we work with there for the opening ceremony of another well. And then I got back, as I was like basically flying home from that trip, I was just like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to raise more money? Like I was so like, we need to raise more money, right? Like this work is so real. It's so like, transformative. Um, and I can really have an impact by doing a good job, by
Mhm.
not just working really hard, but like being strategic and like really like growing at myself as a professional and helping this whole thing like move forward. So yeah, those are some of the most surprising and inspiring moments for me so far on this journey.
No, that's awesome, Aaron. Thank you for sharing. And sort of going off what you shared, it sounds like really you have to build true, authentic relationships in this job you do so you can get a better understanding of who people are. What are tips or tricks that you have for, being able to network and create true, authentic relationships? And did any of that come from your experience here at St. Joe's or in your classes and things like that?
Yeah. Um, I'm just taking a note. I don't want to lose my train of thought. Okay. So you can't fake, you said authentic. You can't fake it. Okay. Um, I've been in situations where I'm not really feeling it that day and I need to communicate with people. And in that situation, it's like you kind of have to like, you know, yeah, yes, yes. But like, I guarantee you those times when I'm not like entirely there, those aren't the relationships that are sustaining and last. How do you build an authentic relationship? You need to really be aware of yourself. This is like one of the biggest things that comes from, I think, a St. Joe's education. That like that ability to like take a step back and reflect on yourself, on your life, on who you are, where you're going, where you want to go. What are those things that you like about yourself? What are those things that you want to work on? Yeah, my own just like work on that side of things. So like not only like professionally growing, but like internally, like working on myself, my mental health, like going to therapy, working through like the different like the pandemic was a hard experience for everybody, and like even beyond that, like it's hard. It's hard to be a student. It's hard to be a young adult. It's hard to like not be glued to your phone all the time, right? I think like we live in this world of distractions. You really need to know yourself. If you want to build a relationship with somebody else, like you need to like at least be on the process of knowing who you are and what you care about. And the reality is I actually genuinely care about the work that we're doing. And so then the relationships I build just comes as an extension of who I am, right?
Mhm.
I don't have to fake it. I don't have to sell anything because I'm already bought in. I'm sold. Like I've seen it. I've seen the work. It's real. Um, I don't need to like, kind of like convince other people, right? I'm not an email marketer. I'm not
Mhm.
trying to get people to click a button. It's like, yes, there's a little bit of that comes into the marketing stuff, but no, the reality is like I've been working on myself. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. I know the people in this organization and what they're doing. And so I put all that together and then I represent that when I go out into the world. And I try to be, I try not to lie. I try to just be honest with people. Like, is this for you? Is this something that's interesting to you? And I was just given a presentation earlier this week, and somebody was like, "Wow, you really love this." And it's like, yeah, I do, right? I do really love this. I love the fact that I can be involved in something so positive. Um, it's a dream. It's a dream come true to be involved in something that's this real at this, really this young of an age. So, yeah, it's. I would say you gotta like that. Those all those reflection papers that you write, like I'm telling you right now, not everybody is doing that. People at other schools aren't doing that. Like especially like not if you don't go to a faith-based like the public schools like big state colleges and stuff like that. People aren't doing all the reflection papers. Like that is what sets St. Joe's students apart, in my opinion. It's like you're actually like take advantage of that stuff. Okay, it's very rare that there's a day, like there's just like a day in your professional life where everybody's like, take a step back and reflect. And it happens, but like when you get to do reflection papers and really like think about how does this apply to me? Like, do I care about this? Do I not care about this? Um, that'll help you in your relationship building process. At least it has for me.
No, that's great advice. I know that's the same here with me for my, and especially my position here. Now, sort of talking about that in the reflective papers, did you have any professors or certain classes that, really highlighted this kind of work or, help prepare you for this role that you're doing?
Yeah. Well, so the graduate degree I got was it was at through Newman University, but St. Joe's has a comparable program. It was business and organizational leadership. So my senior year, I took the leadership course with Dr. Dufresne. Shout out Dr. Dufresne. Um, Fantastic course. Really just kind of like went through the concepts of leadership and like big picture leadership. Like what does it mean to be a leader? I've always seen myself as a leader, so like that kind of like that class and that kind of I think that was the beginning of when my confidence started to build as like some I'm like, oh, I can do this. Like, oh, I can teach. Like I know I can teach because I care, right? And that all came from a lot of that came from that Leo course with Dr. Dufresne. Also, I took a couple courses with Dr. Hyson, American Environmental History and Food in American History. Those were reacting to the past courses, or they weren't, but they have aspects of reacting to the past. So awesome. Those courses are great. Um, yeah, Dr. Hyson got me to like he got me to just like think in a different way. I think that's really important, right? That's kind of what school is about. Yeah,
Hmm.
you think about something from the other person's shoes. Um, it's super relevant today in the political world. There's not enough like cross aisle empathy happening, and there really needs to be. Like that's the only way we can move forward. And I think we're starting to see it in some places, but um, yeah, those courses with Dr. Hyson was great. Um, and then I took some creative writing courses too. So Dr. Cosgrove and creative writing, just like, hey, I can write, and writing is like anything else. You get better at it by doing it. Um, and then yeah, so then Dr. Reich, Death and Afterlife in Chinese Religions. I love that class. So fun. And it's like, I tell people that that was one of my favorite classes, and they're like, what? Right? Like, you studied healthcare. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm interested in these other things. And by like throwing myself at a course like that and really trying to like immerse myself in Chinese popular religion and the practices of death and dying and this religion, it's like it made me a more, I guess, I don't know. It helped me like see the world um in a different way. So it was like all of those different courses. I took courses across, I did a true liberal arts education. I took science courses and history and theology, philosophy. Um yeah, so I don't know what was the rest of that question, but those were some of the professors that really, made a big impact on me. Yeah.
No, that's great, for example. No, that's great. Yeah, no, that's great. And I think it's important to have like some of those classes and in a sense sort of take classes that you want to know more about. Don't you, if you want to, you can stick to a structure in a sense, but feel free to explore your interests is what I feel like you're getting at here.
Yeah. Um I don't like if somebody's on an actuary track, I don't want to like, I don't know if you're listening right now. If you are, like, don't listen. I mean, take the courses you need to take, right? I mean, you've laid out, you and your advisors have laid it out, but I was like, I was open to suggestion, I was like, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I'm like, oh, wait. A professor was like, you should take this class. I'm like, let me think about it. And then I did. So, yeah, but don't sleep. Don't take the easy classes just because you're like, oh, I really need an easy elective, or not that any class is easy, but um, yeah, if something's interesting to you, you should take that class. Like that's like, you know, yeah, Your heart, your soul is like, for some reason you're interested in that, you should probably take that class. Um, yeah.
Now, after being in a high school teaching sense and doing the ACE program and then going from that to your career now, what are some interview or networking tips that you think are important for students to know that helped you get you where you are? You mentioned Father Joyce and the alumni networks there.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, my situation's specific, right? So I don't know how much I can extrapolate, but I guess, just some things that, um, yeah, I mean, I definitely like like if you know somebody, you also know at least 20 other people in their network. This is just like the basic, a basic, I don't know if that number is accurate. It's probably way more, but like, if we're talking about like interests and things, um, I mean, LinkedIn is essentially like it's tried to capitalize on this idea. If you know somebody, you know everybody they know. Social media is the same way, but that's actually true. Like, so if I meet somebody out when I'm networking or trying to find new places for our business to go, um, the person I'm talking to might not be the one to connect me, but they might know somebody who's super well connected. Um, like one of the people I've gotten to work with, his name's Jerry, and he used to be the building manager for the community service building in Wilmington. Okay, he knows everybody in the state basically, right? And I've worked with him really closely, and I've met a lot of people through him. So so yeah, the people that you know and the people you're working with and the professors that you have in your that you're learning from, like they know people, um, but at the same time, you really don't you can't always want something, and
Hmm.
you can't always be like you want something from somebody else, and that's the only reason you're building the relationship. Okay. um Listen, it's hard, the job market is really hard. um and I mean, we see it in the US and we also see it in Kenya. So like in Kenya, we get at least, a couple of times a week, we'll get an email or something from people in Kenya who are asking to volunteer. And the reality is it's like, if somebody volunteers with us, I mean, we work in really remote areas, like there's a lot that goes into it. And there's a lot of investment that we have to make in whoever works with us in Kenya. So it's not so easy as like, oh, I want to volunteer with you, because most of the time that's code for I want to volunteer and I also am looking for a job. Um, and like, I mean, that's just the situation. Okay. Um, if you're in a state of needing something, it's just like you can't be as authentic as it's just, I don't know, there's some kind of like psychic energy happening there. I don't know. Like, but it's like if you're in a state of like longing and need, you end up just like you are looking for other people to fill the that need inside you, when the reality is it's like, well, maybe what can you do for them? Like, is there something you could do to help? I guarantee, like, listen, I'm also involved in like the Catholic world a little bit, and there's a couple different networks that I work with. Um, People like they need young people because they don't know how technology works. Like a lot of people I work with don't know how technology works, right? They don't know how to make a Google form. They don't know how to send an email. Like to a lot of people, this is just a fact, right? So going to like if you're looking for a job and you really don't know what you want to do, like going to a church or a community organization and just asking people how you can help, you're going to meet people. Like you're going to meet people. um I think we get stuck in our own, we get in our own head a lot, and we start thinking like, well, I need this, how do I get what I want, right? It's very American. Whereas a lot of places in the rest of the world would say like, we're a community. How do we help each other out? We're a community. How do we help each other out? So I just think like that framing perspective is important. Um, if you find yourself like really in need of a job, maybe you need to not need that job, right? Get another job, get another job so that you don't need to, get a job that doesn't necessarily require a college education so that you don't need it and then it will come to you. I don't know. I might just be like talking off the top of my head, but I feel like some of these things I'm saying are true.
No, you're right. You're exactly right. You sort of mentioned about, the computer and technology. Are there any other skills that are like your top three skills that you use on a daily
Mm,
basis that really people should work on in a sense, or to help them prepare for the real world and their career?
yeah, sure. If you know how to use Google, you're a superhero. Most people don't know how to use Google or Google Drive. Um, like at all, like organizing files and folders, right? You might not even do it. Like when I was at St. Joe's, I didn't organize files and folders, like my own personal files. I lost most of my work that I did in college because I didn't save stuff in the right place, right? I mean, I'm sure it's all like on a computer, but none of it was organized. So like basics, knowledge management, that's what it's called. That's like the theoretical piece of it. Organizing your own data, your own files, your own, you know, that is a superpower. Seriously. Like if you can learn how to do that, you can do it small for yourself, then you can scale that up. And listen, that's how things are effective. That's how you make things effective when you know how to find something, when you know how to find a resource. Okay, so like seriously, using Google Docs, using Google Slides, like organizing stuff, using Google Sheets, you could be, yeah, I guarantee you there's so many people who need that kind of support. Canva, basic design, graphics design, just kind of like developing a taste for like what looks good, what looks like it was made haphazardly. um what looks like it was carefully designed versus like what was made yeah, what wasn't carefully designed. I mean, honestly. So like we'd also design these newsletters. So like this was a newsletter we put together. I did the design on Canva. This is the timeline. Um, some fundraising statistics. I know it's backwards. This was a partner project. This was a travel group, and they raised $100,000 for a well. Okay, so we put this together as like an interim report before the project is totally finished. But yeah, so like getting photos, learning how to use them, work with them. So there's like the back end stuff with Google. There's the design. Um, I think like a, I mean I don't know what top you said top three. I mean emails, like sending emails. I used to just be really verbose with everything I wrote. Like everything was just 5 times more words than it needed to be. Um, I honestly like I like write. I know ChatGPT and different AI tools exist for writing emails. You can tell, like I can tell when somebody writes me something in ChatGPT. It's just maybe it'll get better over time, but I can tell if you're sending stuff out to future employers, like you should personalize it a little bit, learn how to write an actual email. I don't know. I feel like I mean it's hard enough to get in somebody's inbox. But there's spam filters and all this stuff. It's hard enough to get in somebody's inbox. Um, to get them to look at it and read it and know that you're a person and that you're authentic and you didn't just like plug something in. It's like, write me, here's 50 places I'd like to apply. Now that might be good to get you started, but again, like personalizing things, making it sound like you're you, right? Developing your own voice, right? Or if like in my case, my boss, she has a certain voice, and so we try to use her voice in the communications. That's a skill, right? ChatGPT can't get her voice right. We have over time gotten the voice of the organization down. So, huh, Google, Canva, learn how to write an email. I don't know. Is that helpful, Connor?
No, I think that is. I think communication is a skill, much needed skill, especially today because um you never know what's going to happen, and you need to be able to communicate your thoughts and what you're doing. And really, as you said, the chat GPT, you can tell it's not truly authentic or personalized. Uh, so, was there anything while you're at St. Joe's, looking back at your time at St. Joe's, and I would even say Ace, that you wish someone told you, or like was there something you wish you had participated in? Um, you know, was there anything like that?
At St. Joe's.
Yeah, at St. Joe's. Is there something that, you wish someone told you, now you're in your job that you're like, or I wish I participated in this thing?
Yeah. So honestly, nobody. I very rarely heard because I was in IHS, and so we were talking about healthcare. I very rarely heard people talk about nonprofits. Um, like it's just I wasn't on my horizon, right? It was like, well, if you go into healthcare, you work for a healthcare organization, you work for a hospital or a physical therapy office, and some of those are set up as nonprofits, but like that's beside the point. There is a world of organizations out there called nonprofits. Um, some of them are like some of them are small and effective. Some of them are small and ineffective. Some of them are massive and effective. Some of them are massive and ineffective. But there's every nonprofit kind of runs the same way. It's like you rely on funds from somebody, whether it's a federal grant or it's individual donors or it's corporate donors or whatever, right? So there's a money coming in aspect, and then there's a program aspect. So like, what are you spending the money on? Um, doesn't mean, nonprofit doesn't mean that you can't make money, you can't have a surplus, but it means that like your core work, it's not something that generates revenue for you, right? It's
Hmm.
not, you're not trying to make more and more and more. Um, yeah, and then, yeah, so nonprofits, right? Like looking up jobs in the nonprofit sector. Um, like, again, people are like, oh, nonprofit means you don't get paid. It's like, it's not necessarily true. If you create value, you're a valuable person, right? Like, so if you go to a nonprofit and they need a lot of help and you're able to actually provide a lot of help, like, there's a chance, like, it depends on the size of the organization, but there's a chance that you can create enough value to justify paying you more. I mean, that's really, it's really possible that that kind of stuff happens. Um, yeah, what something I wish somebody told me. Um, yeah, I mean, take an art class, right? Like I was like, oh, I'm not an artist. Um, I'm not going to be an artist. I'm going to do creative writing instead, right? Like I'm not an artist, right? I wish I took an art class, photography, painting, something. Okay, it's probably the only chance in your life you're going to get to just like sit, go to an art class for 16 weeks and create things every week, like pottery experiences like that. Like you should probably take advantage of them. Don't try to like if creative writing is your thing, like, yeah, do creative writing. But um, I find myself, I'm getting into woodworking in my old age. And I like woodworking, working with, like making little things and birdhouses and stuff. I don't do it at that much. Um, I wish I learned some basic skills, but yeah. So let's see, take an art class. Yeah, and like don't be afraid to take hard classes. Like that's like I wish I took a couple harder classes, to be honest. I
Hmm.
kind of like because I was also doing track. I ran track here, so I was always like trying to balance out. Sorry, I don't know what this alarm is. Trying to balance, always trying to balance out like workload on the track. Well, I don't want my classes to be too hard, but the reality is, I wish I pushed myself just a little bit more with some of the rigor of coursework.
So,
I'm a nerd, so
so it
not
sounds
it
like
doesn't work for everybody, but
exactly. So it just sounds like, sometimes challenge yourself here and there. Be willing to challenge yourself.
yeah, yeah. Try new things too. Challenge yourself. Try new things. Like you're in college, that's what it's for. Don't worry about the GPA. Please don't worry about it. No, some people have to worry about it. For wherever you're going in life. But yeah, you're more than your GPA. That's not really what St. Joe's is about, in my opinion. So
Mhm.
um, I don't want to get too controversial.
No, no, no. I got you. I got you. You sort of talked about it earlier, but what are some tips and tricks for students who are looking to get in the nonprofit world? How do you know if they're a legitimate nonprofit who's actually making a difference, and how can you find out if like a nonprofit you're going to work for? the money that they're raising, all the money's being spent on the actual
Hmm.
thing and not just, 25 cents or 50 cents of the every dollar you give.
Yeah, great question. Every nonprofit has to file something called a 990. Okay, so it is a document through the IRS. You basically have to say all the money, all the money in, all the money out, where it went, um, that kind of thing. And if there's surpluses, all that stuff. So yeah, you can actually look at any organization's 990, see what size they are. Um, see like, okay, are we dealing with a $45 million nonprofit, or are we dealing with a $700,000 nonprofit? Like, there's the way they run is going to be fundamentally different. You might not know if you want to work for a small one or you want to work for a big one. There's pluses and minuses to both, but yeah, you can look up any organization's 990. um, it's a public, they're called public. I mean, some of the nonprofits are called public charities, right? So like, you have to share your actual like financial information with the public. You can also look on that. Yeah, you can learn a little bit more about how an organization runs by looking at their 990 too. That's one surefire way to find out. There's also some, like, Charity Navigator and different organizations that donors use to like see if their donation will be well spent. That's a place you can look. Like, if you have you're looking at a job and you're like, well, how good is this place? How reliable are they? That might be something to look into.
Awesome. No, thank you. And we're about less than 10 minutes away, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop in the Q&A box. But I'll just continue, we'll continue this until unless someone has any. But Aaron, you sort of talked about like checking the 10-9 or the 990. There's that sort of looking. I'm going to put a couple questions together in a sense, since we're running low on time. But when students are looking to enter into their careers, do you think um, they should be doing internships, taking certain classes, or do you think maybe doing a year of service or grad school is helpful? What are your thoughts on that, or how did it help you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean that. So yes, I could speak to what I did. So I mean, I did the ACE program because I wasn't ready to go into any medical career yet, and the degree I got during that program, the leadership degree, and the skills that I got. Um, I mean, one of the things I got to do at the high school was like, I got to set up a science lab. So like, we got a $50,000 grant for a physics lab. I didn't know what $50,000 meant back then, but like, that's a sizable grant. Okay. And then I set it up. So technically on my resume was, I implemented a $50,000 grant. It's like, oh wow, that's attractive to a nonprofit. It's like, oh, okay. So um, the ACE program is actually a great program. You can do not just teaching, but you can do like work in admin, marketing, like what's it called, enrollment, that kind of stuff.
Admissions.
Great way to get, yeah, admissions, yeah, great way to get experience, um, and get a degree out of it. So I mean, honestly, people should look into that, especially if you don't know what you're interested in doing after you graduate. Yeah, internships are great opportunities. Fellowships. I mean, there's a couple fellowships like Rotary Peace Fellowship. That's a fellowship you can look up. That's not at St. Joe's, but like, there's some fellowships out there where you actually could travel and like spend a year abroad, like doing research or doing community work. I mean, now's the time to look at that stuff.
Hmm.
Okay, like, sky's the limit, especially if you're an open-minded person. I'm high in I have a high in openness score on my personality test. I love new experiences. Um, if that's you, think about the big stuff, okay? But then, yeah, St. Joe's has a lot of service programs, 1 year service programs, Jesuit Volunteer Corps, ACE-SJU. I know there's a lot of other kinds of like service things that you could do. Um, I guarantee you that will look that will make you a stronger candidate for any job that you seek in the future. Just having that year of service, volunteer work, and then gaining all those skills along the road. Um, yeah, if you're talking about like what's a strategic advantage of St. Joe's students, it's like, yeah, that's a strategic advantage that will form the rest of your career. I have a feeling. I have a feeling that happens a lot for people who do those programs.
Mhm. No, I completely agree.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I guess, just to sort of finish off, do you have any final thoughts, uh, tips, tricks, comments that you think the students should know, and that are
Yeah,
important as they, move forward into their time here at St. Joe's, but then
yeah.
enter their careers?
So I talked a little disparagingly about ChatGPT. You should learn how to use AI. Everybody should learn how to use it. I use Grok, which is on X. I just happen to think that one works with my brain the best. Um, some people use, I mean, there's ChatGPT, Claude. I mean, there's so many out there. Gemini. Um, you really should learn how to use those. Okay. Um, it's basically sometimes it can be my assistant. Like I don't mean to say that like we're not paying somebody to like work with like I end up doing more work. What I'm saying is like that it is so helpful. Like it can be so helpful, but you need to know how to prompt it. You can't just be like write this for me. It's like no, you need to like learn how the formatting works. Like so it's actually it's going to be a skill. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be around in our careers for like if you especially if you're a current student, this is going to be around. Yeah, if you have some qualms about the ethics of it, like, you know, come to your own conclusion. Um, I happen to think that it allows me to do more. Okay. So, um, it's also a great research tool. Like I just used it today to find native pollinators, that one of my friends has wants to start a pollinator garden and they asked which plants and so I looked up like pollinators because I don't know anything about pollinators to be honest. I just like the idea and I got a whole list of things that you could buy at the store. It's like learn how to use learn how to use it, whether it's for proofreading, whether it's for brainstorming. um, yeah, we're going to need to learn how to control the robots. Okay, so like if you can control the robots you're already ahead of the game. But in like yeah, in another sense it's like I guess on the other side of it, continue to get to know yourself. Um, yes, continue to get to know yourself. Continue to meet, be open to meeting new people. Don't think you have to have it all figured out. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Okay, it's just a fact. Um, I seem like I have it all together. I don't. All right. Um, I'm good at talking. That's a skill I've developed over time. But I can be convincing too. But the reality is I'm still figuring it out. I guarantee you a lot of people that you've met are still figuring it out. So there is no rush. Being in a rush is a myth. Take your time. If you're on if you feel like you know exactly what the next step is, odds are that is somebody else's path, not yours. That's a Carl Jung quote or something like that. Um, yeah, you know that you're doing something really like if you want to do something extraordinary, you shouldn't know what the path is in front of you. And then yeah, that's what I have to say.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Aaron, so much. Really, uh, you know, always insightful talking to you. Always get giving great advice. So everyone, please join me in thanking Aaron for joining us today and providing such great insight into his career. Aaron, we are so grateful for your time, and be seeing you soon. But come back to Hawk Hill. We'll be up here on the 4th of April. So if anyone's around.
Yes,
Um, you can check them out, see them there. And, as a reminder, we have a couple more alumni takeover week sessions going on the rest of the week throughout today and tomorrow. So check your email for any updates to the schedules. And have a wonderful day, everyone. Aaron, thank you again so much. Wonderful. It was a wonderful time.
thank you, Connor, and thank you, Scott, and thank you everybody in the Career Center. You should use the Career Center. That's everybody should use it. I didn't use it enough. That's the thing I regret. Yeah, use the Career Center.